Hola.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning, good afternoon, or possibly even good night. I hope you all are doing well and welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of KimYaps. Welcome back to the space where we don't skim the surface, where we dive into the deep end. So, if you were with us for our last episode, we talked about the architecture of isolation. We talked about how we are all building these massive, impenetrable forces. Forces. Wow. See, I'm acting like I recorded this days later. I'm really recording this again the same day. My jaw still hurts, y'all. Please forgive me. What was I even gonna say? Uh, Basically, we talked about how we're all building these massive impenetrable fortresses to keep each other out. And today, for episode 2 of our love and relationship series, we're going to look closely at the moat you built around that fortress. We're going to look at the sign you hung on the front gate. You know the sign I'm talking about. It's the phrase that has taken over our entire generation. It's the ultimate mic drop on Twitter. It's the thing that your ex says in her IG notes to make you feel salty and to make people think she's ultra deep. It's the aesthetic. It's the ultimate excuse in modern dating. I'm protecting my peace. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Every time I hear somebody say they're protecting their peace right now, I kind of like I wince because not that the concept is bad, right? True peace is beautiful, but the phrase has been completely hijacked. What started as something that was necessary, a valid psychological tool for escaping genuinely abusive and dangerous situations, right? Has completely devolved. It is devolved into a get out of jail free card we are using protecting my peace to avoid accountability, to avoid compromise, to avoid the absolute necessary friction that comes with building a real relationship. Shade. We are mistaking emotional avoidance for emotional immaturity. And worse than that, we are adopting this unbothered, hyper guarded persona because truthfully, most of us don't actually know who we are. So let's unpack that. Let's yap. So I want you to think about the language you use when a relationship gets hard. Think about the words we all use now: toxic, narcissist, gaslighting, love bombing, energy vampire. We are completely fluent in the language of therapy, but we have absolutely none of the actual healing. We're just simply an echo chamber. And here's the truth: a lot of people don't really want to hear. When you don't have a solid, grounded sense of self, when you don't, or when you haven't done the quiet, lonely work of figuring out exactly who you are, what your core values are, what your actual flaws are. Yes, your flaws. It's easy to let the internet give you an identity. You go online, you see a viral video of someone talking about how they cut off their toxic ex to protect their peace. And because you don't know your own story, you just borrow theirs. You borrow somebody else's trauma response and you wear it as your own personality. You let the algorithm dictate your boundaries. Someone inconveniences you, they're toxic. Someone asks you to change a destructive habit, they're gaslighting you. Someone wants to spend a lot of time with you because they actually like you. They're love bombing you. You aren't protecting your peace. You're reading from a script because you haven't written your own story yet. You are adopting a culturally celebrated version of avoidance because it's easier than looking in the mirror and admitting, I'm terrified of being known. So let's define what peace, or rather, what y'all's version of peace is. The internet defines peace as a frictionless experience, Complete absence of conflict. If someone triggers you, you block them. If someone requires you to compromise your routine, you cut them off. The philosophy is if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. But let me ask you a question. If you cut off every single person who challenges you, if you eliminate everyone who holds you accountable, if you run away the second a relationship requires you to step out of your comfort zone, are you actually peaceful? Or are you just isolated? So I want you to imagine a sterile room. That's a big word for Elmo. White walls, no furniture, no windows, nothing to trip over, nothing to bump into. It's perfectly safe. It's perfectly frictionless, but you cannot live in it. That is what you are building when you are using protecting my peace to run away from human connection. You're building a sterile, empty room and calling it a sanctuary. It's not a sanctuary, it's solitary confinement. Real peace in a relationship isn't the absence of a storm. It's not finding someone who agrees with you 100% of the time and never asks you to grow. Real peace is gritty. Real peace is deep, grounded, knowing that you and your partner can survive the storm together. It's the confidence that you can have a massive argument, get your feelings hurt, sleep in the same bed, and wake up next morning knowing nobody is packing their bags. Real peace requires you getting your hands dirty. It requires having incredibly uncomfortable conversations. It requires staying in the room when your fragile ego is screaming at you to run away. But staying in the room requires you to care. And right now, caring is culturally forbidden on both sides, men and women, right? Society currently praises the person who cares the least, and the ultimate flex is acting like losing someone doesn't phase you. I don't chase, I attract. Oh, he left next. She acting up blocked. I was about to say no, no word, please, but you, my blacks, we have idolized the what should I call it? The unbothered my words, they time was slipping away from me. Yeah. The unbothered aesthetic, but let's call it what it really is. Unapologetic, absolute cowardice. Being unbothered isn't just a mask for terrified. Think about it. If you are truly living, if you are truly loving, if you are truly trying to build a life with another human being, you should be bothered when things go wrong. If your relationship falls apart and you are completely unfazed, you actually love that person. You're using them to pass the time. Hold on, Chad. Right. We're gonna ignore that. That never happened, right? Still, back to what I was talking about. Being unbothered is a mask for the terrified. If your relationship fails, if your relationship falls apart, rather, and you are completely unfazed, you didn't love that person. You're just using them to pass the time. And now, caring deeply is a massive risk, and it means you might get hurt. Pretending you don't care is the ultimate defense mechanism of someone with no emotional backbone. And I want you to think, oh, as a matter of fact, I want to challenge you. Think about the last relationship or situationship you walked away from. Think about the moment it got too heavy, when you pulled the ripcord and ran away, telling all your friends you had to protect your peace. Were you really protecting your peace? Or were you just running away from the mirror? Were you running away because that relationship was finally forcing you to look at your own selfishness, your own poor communication, your own fear of commitment? It is so much easier to label the other person as the problem than to sit in the discomfort of your own flaws. Boo hoo. So, how do we fix this? How do we transition from this fake avoidant internet piece to real relational resilience, if you will? Well, one, it starts with identity. Know thyself. You have to drop the borrowed narratives. You have to stop letting TikTok tell you what your deal breakers are. And you have to take a season. Yes, a season at a time to actually figure out who you are outside of the algorithm. What are your actual values? What are your actual boundaries? Not walls to keep people out, but boundaries to keep your integrity intact. When you actually know who you are, you don't need to perform the embodied aesthetic. You can be deeply bothered, deeply hurt, and still remain grounded. And I promise you, y'all, I promise you, I promise, I know how to say bothered. But that's not what we're talking about. I want you to know that you can remain grounded because your identity isn't tied to the outcome of the conflict. You have to stop striving for a frictionless life. See, I can say words, y'all. I just sometimes when I be flowing, my brain don't be it don't be recouping the information fast enough. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm embracing the friction that I have going on, and I'ma still give you this message of true intimacy, the kind of love that actually changes your life, the kind of love that lasts 50 years, that requires the total destruction of your ego. What it requires is letting someone into your peace and allowing them to rearrange the furniture. It requires looking at your partner and saying, I'm going to let you see the ugliest, most unhealed parts of me. I'm going to let you see me without deodorant, without makeup, without the lashes that I keep on my eyes, even when I'm sleeping, just so you won't see me that way. And I'm going to trust you not to use them as ammunition. Now, I'm going to leave you with this thought today. I want you to let this marinate in your spirit. You can spend your entire life perfectly protecting your peace. You can. You can cut off every single person who ever challenges you, asks you to change, or hurts your feelings. You can build walls so high that Donald Trump will envy you and will nobody ever in the history of ever will reach you. And you can sit perfectly in your sterile, frictionless room. You will be perfectly safe. But you know what you'll also be? Perfectly alone. Because real love isn't safe. It's a beautifully dangerous gamble. So stop protecting your peace and start building your resilience. So that's what I got for you today. I want you to take a hard look in the mirror at the relationships of your past, future, and present life. And I want you to look at the walls that you have built up, the walls that you keep up, that you call peace. And I want you to look at how many walls you've built up and how many layers of walls you have. I want to hear from you. Have you been protecting your peace as an excuse to run away? Have you been dealing with someone playing the unbothered game? Hit the comments, send a DM. Share this episode with your grandma. Share this episode with your mama. Share this episode with your dysfunctional father that still can't get a wife at 50. Someone needs to hear it. So let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep growing, keep building, and remember true peace is built in the storm, not running away from it. This is KimYaps, and Jesus loves you. And I love you just a little bit less. I'll catch y'all.